2003 Night of Champions. Find out what really happened.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. And we're back for another exciting episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined as always by the technician, Chris Aceto. And we have a little lull in the contest season, but next week we got a bunch of shows coming up again. We got nationals on the horizon. The year never seems to end. I don't remember ever having a year, Chris, where we went so deep into the year where like we were still waiting for big shows to happen in December.
Well, not only do you have big shows happening in December, you have weekends you can't possibly report on. 7 years ago, you could say, oh, there was a single show, an NPC show.
Yeah.
10 years ago. There was a show in Idaho. Oh, what show was it? Or there was a show in, if you're lucky, there was a show in Idaho, and there was one in New Mexico, and there was in Missouri. Now there's there were 28 shows this weekend.
Yeah.
You can't possibly cover them.
No.
All. So this recent lull here is just simply, this past weekend or this last week,
Right.
there was, like a headliner show.
Well, there's a lot of qualifiers still happening. Sid, our very own Sid Faruqi, was on an airplane out to Texas where he was emceeing a show, which is a national qualifier, getting guys ready for the nationals. And I believe you saw Martin Fitzwater out there, and Martin is looking very big, actually. I wanted to get your opinion on Martin because I wanted your opinion on how far do you think this guy can go? He's still very young. He's made some tremendous improvements. We were talking off camera a little earlier today about how some guys can ruin their physique if they go too much, but he seems to be getting better and better every year. I mean, he's arguably the third or fourth best bodybuilder in the world right now. And he almost knocked off Derek Lunsford, who won the Olympia last year. What's your take on him for the future?
He's really impressive. Bottom line is,
Yeah.
he's a collection of lack of weaknesses, and he also has some strengths, which is the quads and the back. So,
Yeah.
Which is different than you can have strengths, right? You can have great quads, but this pose is weak. So he doesn't have any weak poses. Plus, he has a couple body parts that are exceptionally, strong, which is the quads and the entire back double bicep. Especially the back. The back is really good. And it's funny you say that, Dave, because you and I were at the New York Pro, and where he landed in second, and I think it was only by a point. And I think that he technically could have won that show. In other words, it was really close. And I was looking at him when he was doing an interview with someone on stage. I can't remember who it was. And I looked from an angle and I said, wow, there's not a lot of weaknesses there. That's what really struck me, because see someone you could see you could see someone 12 feet away, and just if you a lot of times your eye goes immediately to not their physique but just what's not there. And I looked at him and I wow, there's really not any weaknesses there. And then I looked more and more, and I was like, gosh, big legs, big delts, wide back, big pecs. So
Look at that progression from 2018 to 24 right there. That's impressive.
yeah, I saw him at the Legions a few years ago, and I thought like, wow, he looks really good. That was he looked like one of these bodies that could do what he's done. Like
Yeah.
just fresh, young guy, dense muscle, looks like he trains heavy, or trains correctly for his body. He's impressive. I mean, anyone who says he's not impressive is probably at this point just a hater.
Yeah. And he has the very interesting statistic that he can say probably he's the only guy to ever beat, at least in recent memory, Chris Bumstead on a bodybuilding stage, right?
Yeah, good point.
So I mean that's a little stat. In 20 years from now, I'll probably be the only thing I remember, but I don't remember anything else. I'll be like, but you remember the year Martin beat Chris Bumstead? um, what can he improve at this point? I mean, just keep adding more size? Was that a mistake? I mean, where can he ruin this? Can he make this physique worse, or do you think he's
make their physique worse because everyone has made their physique worse?
Yeah.
Take that. Every single person who we love as a bodybuilder made their physique worse.
Yes. At some point, yeah.
I'll go through the list if you need it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's hear it.
The only one who didn't escape that is like Cormier.
Yeah, Cormier never really blew out his waist or anything like that. He looked pretty much the same when at the end that he did in the beginning. Yeah. Well, Chris and I have discussed this, and a lot of and you and I have discussed this too. It seems like guys that need to eat a tremendous amount of food, which are usually the bigger bodybuilders, tend to blow the waistline out. And it happened to me. It happened to Ronnie. It happened to Phil Heath. It happened to Victor. It happened to a lot of guys. I mean, but the guys that seem to have small appetites, like Cormier, and that don't eat a lot, seem to have kept the waistline. Dexter, right?
Yeah. No, and it's like this natural progression that waists start to get bigger, and when waists get bigger, you can gain 20 pounds on the scale and still be ripped. Yeah. And if you add, people don't add 2 inches to their delts. They just don't to each delt.
Yeah.
Right. And if you increase your waist left to right 2 inches, one inch on your left side, 1 inch on your right, you're done.
Mm. Yeah.
You're not 4 inches on your shoulders unless you jimmy them up to the smithereens, and then you're gonna.
There's some guys that add thickness to their waist, but then there's some guys that get like I got very distended, and after thinking about this and going back and trying to like replay in my mind what might have gone wrong, the intestinal tract is made of muscle. It's made of smooth muscle, though, as we know, and it's not. You can't voluntarily contract the smooth muscle cells in your body. So they're under control of the brain, essentially, in the spinal cord. So what does cause the muscles of the intestinal tract to contract is food. So when you load food into your small intestines, large intestine, and it creates a constant stretch on that, the muscle responds and gets bigger. It enlarges, basically, so that it can handle the larger loads of food. That's why, I mean, the amount of food that I was able to eat. I mean, look, we used to see Kai Green eat 2 pounds of fish, or 2 pounds of meat in a meal. You can't just go in and start doing that right after that. You have to actually stretch out all that material to do it first. Kai had a gut issue too. And while you're able to absorb more of that food now because your gut is bigger and it has a bigger surface area, it has no place to go. And especially when you have a short torso, it tends to balloon out. The guys with the longer torsos, it tends to not be as pronounced. Like guys like Gunther comes to mind, Jay, Wolf. You never really saw distension from those guys because they have a long torso to stretch that out on. Now, the good news is that when you stop eating as much, okay, it'll go down. It'll atrophy because it's just muscle. It's not like something that permanently happens. The problem is that while you're growing and while you're bodybuilding and you're at your biggest, once you've made a bigger midsection, you can't get it to go down. It's like you have to reduce the whole size of your body first. And no one does that. And so I think what happens is it's just impossible to fix that area. And then what happens is all the connective tissue that holds the internal organs in the intestinal tract in gets stretched out too. And then, you lose that like elasticity of the skin around the waist. And we've seen it happen with a lot of bodybuilders, the bigger they got. And it's hard not to try to get bigger as a bodybuilder, because in our mind, we have to always be improving, right?
I mean, I think you summed it up perfectly. There's nothing to add to it.
Yeah.
It's so when it started with the question of like what can go wrong with Martin. I mean, it's like it's the same thing that's gone wrong with just so many other people. Is the bigger you get,
Yeah.
the stomach suffers, and then all
Mm.
the stuff like standing in the lineup next to someone and your eyes don't go on to that person even with all that mass because the impact of the midsection.
Right.
Not a section show. That doesn't mean that you can't. I mean, Coleman won with a huge midsection in what was it, 2003. If you look back when he was like 283, his midsection was gigantic.
Yeah, but his shoulders and that back were huge too.
Yeah. That's what I mean. You can still win with the big midsection.
Yeah. Well, Jay never had a small waist. He didn't have distension, but he didn't have a small waist. But his shoulders were. He might have had the widest shoulders in all bodybuilding. The span, the width of that man is unbelievable with the bone structure he had.
Yeah, he definitely had crazy shoulder width.
Yeah.
It's still ridiculously wide.
No, he'll never lose that. That's bone structure. It doesn't matter how small he gets, muscularly speaking, he'll always have the width. In a sweatshirt, he'll always look amazing, and you can't take that away. And I think that's something that, that people don't realize. Bone structure is everything. I mean, look at the most recent pictures. Let me pull these up of Sampson. He looks like a freak too. I mean, look how big he got.
Well, that's an old picture, but.
Oh, it is an old picture?
That's from 2 years. That's from when he didn't win, I think.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I thought Sid put this up. Maybe let me go to his. Hold on.
I will put money that was. But
you're usually a good eye. You're usually right. I wouldn't even doubt you.
Avon, that was from the year he was third and not first. The reason I know that for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, is I remember my son saying, "What do you think of this picture?" I said, "Oh, it looks good there."
Yeah. He didn't say on his website when that picture was from.
Yeah.
Let me see what this is.
This
is.
Sid thinks because it's posted recently, then it must be.
Yeah. This is recent. I'm pretty sure.
It looks gigantic.
Yeah, 325 pounds. Now he has a long torso too, so it seems like he can hold a lot of mass on his body without that stomach getting too distended, which is good for him. I'm sure what he's working on. People don't realize Sampson is not that wide structurally. I think for his height, that is. But his delts and his back and his he's just so muscular that you can't even tell. I think this is the best his side leg has ever looked. Right? I mean, it's enormous.
I think
he never had a really insane side leg. I mean, if he can bring the conditioning in next year, I think he's going to be very, very difficult to beat.
Yeah.
That's a lot of mass on him. Speaking of mass, how's Andrew looking in the off season?
Pretty good.
Do you see him making some serious muscle improvements over the off season?
I think it's too early to say.
Yeah.
Because off season, as you know, Dave, is like there's two types of off seasons. There's the off season where the guy goes from a post show and just goes through this rebound, which really means that he's on a endless bridge, and the body weight goes up to infinitesimal, and then it just never goes high along, right?
Well, Andrew's doing the Arnold, isn't that correct?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
And it doesn't change. And then there's, where you can, take a break and then recoup and rebuild. Those are the two types of off seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And probably the off season that people like to do is the explosive one where they bridge it into nowhere. But the productive one, the genuine one is, which takes more patience, is when you know, actually, in my opinion, come down in size and reboot it.
Right. Right. Well, it seems as though Samson, Andrew is a way more focused bodybuilder when he's getting ready for competition. I don't know if that's an accurate statement. It just seems that way to me. So I think the fact that you're keeping him competing will probably mean we see bigger improvements from him between shows. I know it sounds illogical almost, because usually most people need to take off to grow. But I think when he's focused, he's training harder. He's eating better. He's not, distracted as easily. And I think that for his body and for the way he works, he's better when he's focused on a show.
Well, I think most gains come down to being focused, frankly.
Right.
Regardless of everything, not regardless, but as much so as any other factor that includes like what you're eating, what you're taking, how you're resting. Focus is half your progress, because you to be focused, you have to have confidence. So they go hand in hand.
Right. Right. But do you think that Andrew is more easily distracted in an off-season scenario as opposed to a pre-contest scenario?
I wouldn't say that. I just think that for anyone, no, because I would distracted. Like, what's that mean? Like,
because you know how you have some guys like the day after the Olympia, they're back in the gym and they're already preparing for next year. And then there's some guys that will take a few months off and then, they're not, they like give their body a rest. They don't go to the gym as much, and then they lose what I call focus. Focus is like Dorian Yates. The show's over and you're back in the gym Monday morning and you're training for the next year already.
Well, you know what? There's different ways, and people have their own methods. But just because you won the Olympia and you're back in the gym the next day doesn't mean that's actually beneficial for you.
No, it works for some people though. I mean, Ronnie was like that.
I mean, you don't even know because they don't do it any other way.
Right. What was Jay like? What would Jay do? Would he be back in the gym?
Yeah, but he wouldn't be like a mental case the next day,
No, but he was always focused on the next thing, so to speak. Yeah, I see guys that are very easily distracted, and they say, okay, the show's over. Now I can get a 2-month break, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to let my body rest. And rest is definitely important, but I mean, sometimes guys take too much rest, I think,
Sometimes people take too much rest, but there's a wisdom in rest because we're in the gas it at all times environment in bodybuilding. And, gassing it all the time will always lead to less progress.
Right. I'm not talking about drugs. I'm talking about training, eating. I'm talking about training, eating.
Your body, after you prepare for a big show, your body needs a break. That's my opinion.
Right. No, it definitely does.
There's no other sport. I mean, do you think Tyson Fury after a big fight and a big he's like, okay, we got to get in there tomorrow. We got to get in there and at least work on fundamentals.
Different mentality.
Huh?
No, but it's a different mentality because you see with bodybuilding, after a show, you have an anabolic rebound. You know that the best growth. The best growth you get is right after the show. You
don't really hold that rebound. That's another.
I don't, because when your body is deprived of nutrients, this is my observation, and it makes sense. When your body's deprived of nutrients, okay, and you're not giving it enough, okay, you're giving it less than enough because you want to burn fat, right? Your body tends to learn how to absorb protein better, right? So you can eat less protein and it doesn't matter. You're not losing any muscle because your body's more efficiently absorbing it. And it's in starvation mode, essentially. Even though you're eating 6 times a day, your body's in starvation mode because it's losing weight and it knows it's losing weight. Now you go into a surplus where you're putting surplus calories in, and your body is like, holy mackerel, we got to store all this. But if you're training and creating an anabolic stimulus, a lot of that storage is not going to be just glycogen storage. It's going to be muscle storage. And that's why your body has that little rebound after the show where you can actually put on muscle for probably 4 to 6 weeks, pretty efficiently, almost effortlessly. Whereas before you started your diet, you were kind of hitting a wall. Now your body is like, I want to store everything because this guy's finally feeding me enough food. So I think that when guys neglect that little anabolic window, and I'm not saying I never took drugs during this period because you have enough drugs in your system that can last you 4 weeks after a show's over. I think guys that neglect that by saying, I'm just not going to go to the gym on, for a month and take a break. I think that you lose that little anabolic rebound. That's just my theory.
Yeah,
So,
I'd probably agree with that. But
I'm not saying you should be. I don't think you should be going balls to the wall. But I think there's too little and then there's too much. And you got to find that in between part. This is a great picture, by the way. I wanted to just put this up. I saw it on Andrew's page. Wait a second. Look how big these guys are. How great is that picture, Chris? They look like they're monsters from another planet. These guys. Yeah. I think we're going to see these guys battle it out on the next year's Olympia. I really do. I think Andrew's ready to get to that level. I think he's got the size he needs now. I think that next year we're going to see these two guys battling it out, which would be super exciting if we saw two monsters like this on stage against each other.
Well, is Sampson doing the Arnold or no?
Yes, he is. We'll see them at the Arnold. Yeah, we'll see them at the Arnold. I didn't even think about that. You're right.
Yeah,
when was the last time we saw two 6-foot guys battling it out, over 6-foot guys battling it out for an Olympia title? Never.
Of like Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan, Dave.
Blackman would have a magazine headline for that for sure, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. King Kong versus Andrew Jacked, something like that.
Tell Ron Harris to put a side by side when Hulk Hogan was up against
lifting up the giant.
Andre the Giant, Andrew next to
Musclemania. Musclemania.
Now, Blackman was upset that word got trademarked.
I know. Lou Zwicko, Musclemania, right?
Yeah, well, he's great. Lou Zwicko's another.
He was another Don King, yeah.
Yeah, another promoter.
It was a great name. Too bad they should have bought it from him. Blackman should have bought that name from Lou Zwick. It's a shame. Yep.
Because it was catchy enough and it had a little bit of corniness to it, but not too corny, right?
Yeah, no, it's great because look, WrestleMania is the biggest thing in the right. So Musclemania is, that's who doesn't want to be involved in that. You remember when they started doing those shows? I remember I used to watch them on ESPN, and I forget how it worked. Like it wasn't like an NPC sanctioned show, but somehow guys would do that show. They'd get on ESPN, and then was there any qualification for? Was it an NPC or no? It was like, how did they manage to do that?
No, Jose Raymond did it. Tito Raymond did it.
Yeah, but I think they did it when it was natural. Before it was natural, it was Mike Francois won it. Dennis Newman won it. Remember all those guys won it? I remember Sal Princiata from New York won it.
I beat Bill Wilmore.
Oh, did he win it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Philly. That's right. I did a Musclemania, so it was an NPC sanctioned show. No, it was NPC.
Oh, it was. Okay.
I think what he did is he started it as natural, and then he went over to, Lou Zwick got the NPC sanctions and started doing shows throughout the here and there under the the NPC banner.
Right. It was a great name.
Yeah.
But it switched to a natural. It was like a natural thing, after a while.
Maybe it went back
because well, you know what? The problem was I don't think he was able to keep it on TV, because of that. The TV was really weird about it.
Here we go again with the steroids and TV and the family, the children. Right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it was on TV. Right?
Isn't it funny how we call it legacy TV now? But TV doesn't even matter anymore. No one even cares about TV. Isn't it
TV.
crazy?
Like TV. What is? When's the last? I don't. I
I
haven't
actually
turned.
sat down. I sat down and talked to Steve Carroll. This is when Steve Carroll and I, before we had our little run in, and he was telling me, because I said, Steve, how did you have? You remember they had that show on MSG Network? It was
Yeah.
like Steve Stone, Tom Terwilliger, and they
Yeah.
would cover like local shows. And I said, Steve, how
The
did you pull
price
that show off?
Gabe was horrendous compared to Louiswick ran circles.
Oh, yeah, right. The TV quality was terrible on that show
It
compared to
was like it was in my basement or something. It was.
the. They would watch these shows and have to go and do voiceovers all in one night for like 10 shows. It was brutal, I heard. And Steve Stone, may he rest in peace, is the one who told me that. And Tom Terwilliger, they were the hosts, and they would do all these shows. And Steve Carroll told me that it was insanely expensive to get on TV. And they would have to get all these sponsors to give them all this money. He said we would work our asses off and we would make no money from it.
Of course,
Not
because they take the money from the sponsors to put it
pay
to
the network, yeah,
the
to pay the network.
production value and get it on the network.
Yeah, he said it was too much work. He goes, it's a shame because it was really cool to be able to watch yourself on TV. I remember watching I was actually on the ESPN special. They used to cover the junior nationals, and it was wonderful. I mean, they treated you like you were a celebrity. I mean, it was really one of the highlights of my bodybuilding career was to be on TV, and everyone watched that, and they would replay it over and over and over again. Unfortunately, it was always on at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. Bodybuilding never got like prime time,
Yeah, no, that
time
was
slot.
the thing. Louiswick had good airtime, but I remember the Steve Carroll show used to come on at like if you're up at like 3:30 while you're dieting for a bite, you could watch it.
Right. Yeah, yeah. They you didn't have the best the best time slots for sure. But did you see the update of Carlos Thomas Jr.?
Yeah,
What do you think?
he
I'll pull it up.
it looks like a little.
Will we see him on stage, you think? I mean, he's having some
Yeah.
problems getting himself, focused.
Yeah, cartoon like, right?
He took another year off. He was supposed to compete this year. I know he had some issues with family. I think some family members. Someone died in his family. What his
Great.
dad told me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I saw him
he
at
was
the
upset.
go for some reason, I forget. I was
Yeah,
shocked
but
about the
he
father.
obviously has not stopped training. That's for sure.
Oh. No, he looks round and tapered and big and
I worry about him from a mental standpoint because he's got the physique to be on the Olympia stage. Obviously, it seems like he has trouble getting to the stage. Because he's very tough on himself. I know he wants to be perfect when he's on stage. And I explained to him, I said, you're not always going to be perfect. I said, you got to compete.
well, I just said it. There's no such thing as perfect. If you as a
No.
body you try to be perfect, I guarantee you're going to come in off.
Yeah, he's got a good heart. He's got a good head on his shoulders. Very smart, intelligent. He's got good backing. He's got the Brazilian contract. He's got to get himself on. He's got to start competing in more shows now. That he doesn't have to wait anymore. He's got all the tool set to be winning shows and being on that Olympia stage, top 5. But you have to compete. If you don't compete, you lose something. You need to get that nervousness out of your system and not worry about what people think about you. Get up there, show them what you got, and come back and make improvements. That's what bodybuilding is, year after year after year. And you don't have that many years. You never know how many years you have, right? Because you're only one injury away from never competing again. That's really the truth of the matter. So don't wait. So this way you have no regrets moving forward. That's my advice to him.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you. Everything you said, especially when it comes to injuries, because we've all had injuries. Everyone's had an injury, and injuries either come out of the blue. They don't come from the 400-pound squats. They come from like lunging with 120, right? Or they slipping on ice like Branch Warner.
Slipping on ice, right? Yeah, exactly.
I think Jose said recently. I've learned that I know he had broken his leg somehow, but it wasn't in the gym.
Oh, he didn't? How did he hurt it?
He broke his leg years ago, like years ago, but it was like in his like prime. I mean, coming up in his prime, he had won like all those every single amateur division
Mm.
in USA and nationals possible, and I think he was getting ready to like get his pro card, even though he refused it like 50 times.
Mm.
And I think he broke his leg on ice or something, or
Oh, wow.
it wasn't in the gym. So that's the point.
Mm. Yeah. What do you think about this Rubio Mascara? Is he's a creature from another planet for sure. I mean, this
Yeah,
guy is looking enormous. I don't know how he's going to do on a stage. I mean, there's no one who's bigger than this guy. That's for sure. I mean, he's got probably the biggest legs I've ever seen. His structure's a little weird. He's got like a very weird structure, but he's got a ridiculous amount of muscle. If he's another one who's having trouble getting visas and stuff like that, but if he gets on stage and brings his conditioning in at some point, he could be very dangerous. You think this guy is going to be someone we're going to see on an Olympia stage for years to come, or you think he's going to, not make it?
yeah, I think he'll make it to the Olympia stage. I don't know what that means once he's there, but he's capable of winning shows. It's just a matter of like, his issue is going to be. I already know. So when your legs are that big, they just I don't they're hard to separate.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no. Sometimes they're just like, even Ronnie's legs really never were that separated, right?
No, but he had the
They were
gold
enormous.
medal,
From
which
behind, they separated, not from the front
yeah,
that much.
yeah. But they were good enough. He'd do an ab shot and
Yeah, they were enormous, though. Yeah, so.
yeah.
Be interesting. There's a lot of guys that are coming up now
There's a lot of good people out there right now. Who are who can go to the next level. I mean, you just put up
yeah,
two. Those are two guys who can definitely take it to the next level this year.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
You know,
All right,
a lot of these shows are like, some of the shows, not a lot of the shows, but it seems like this last year, it's hard to find a pro show where you can sneak in and get the win. In other words, there haven't been any weak pro shows.
no, but a couple of the ones early in the year usually tend to be a little easier.
Vaguely weak this year, vaguely.
Mm.
But think of a pro show this year that was weak. You have
No, there really wasn't. Well,
you had the Cal Pro pretty strong. You had the New York Pro was strong. You had like the Detroit Pro that was Martin and
right.
Goodville. I mean,
Yeah.
look at you can go down the list. All the shows in Europe, whether it was Bonac winning or Nathan
Right.
winning and Beirut's winning. I mean, there wasn't like a buy show was like,
No.
oh, I got third at this show. And the proof of that is Amir did a lot of those shows and he was like third.
Right.
He's third. In other words, there was not a show where he could show up where it's like, oh, you don't have a headliner here.
Yeah.
Really, really, outstanding. I mean, every show had somebody who was like first and second who was in outstanding. I mean, just look at, you had Raphael win the show, you had Akeem win the show. They're not slouchy shows.
They had Andrew win a show. I mean, there was Labrada. So
it goes on.
Everyone on that Olympia stage won a show except, Mr. Olympia, actually, no. Well, yeah, I guess Derek didn't compete, last year because he didn't have to, but even Hottie, I mean, won the Arnold. So it was a big contest season, and I think this year we're going to see even better competition because you have shows like Pittsburgh, which is giving away $100,000 for first place.
Yeah.
You got New York after that, giving away 30 or 40,000. So, I mean, that's going to be a 1-2 punch, in the middle of the spring season there.
Dave, to see who jumps into Pittsburgh and New York, because, Pittsburgh's giving away very good money. And
well, think about it. The Arnold has become like the Olympia now in terms of prize money, and the Pittsburgh and the New York Pro, those two shows back to back are like the Arnold and the
Yeah.
Arnold UK
What about
and the Arnold Brazil. It's like those have now moved up to the status of Arnold Classic in terms of prize money, whereas the Arnold status is up to the Olympias,
yeah, it's a
in
good
terms of
point.
prize money.
Very
So
good
you're
point.
getting the same guys who do the Olympia doing the Arnold now because they don't want to turn down that money. And then the guys who normally do the Arnold now are doing the New York Pro and the Pittsburgh. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
and then you got Bader's show is $100,000. You're going to get your European guys. That's like their European Arnold almost. It's like they're going to be doing that for
plus
that.
a $1,000 watch is worth $3.
I heard Bader might give away $200,000 this year. So I don't know if that's true or not. I have to find out. But
you mean 200 in total or 200 first prize?
I think 200 first prize. Yeah.
200 first prize, and you're going to see.
Yeah.
Line up.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, think about it. The Dubai tourist department there is funds that show because they want to bring tourism into Dubai. So
do
if
they
they
need
get
more tourists?
what
They need more tourists.
they you always need more tourists, Chris. Remember that. But no, seriously, if you get Dubai's government behind that bodybuilding show, you could see $1 million at some point in first place for that show. So I just did a podcast with my good friend Leo Meyerhofer a few weeks ago, and I said to him when I was out in California, I said, if I'm Arnold, I would give away $1 million this year. Just whoever gets to $1 million first is going to be remembered forever, right, Chris?
Yeah. No,
So if I'm Arnold, I'm finding $1 million, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'm giving away $1 million first place. That would it would completely send the prize money into the stratosphere. After that, everyone would have to keep up with him. They'd have to.
I'm in agreement with you.
And you know what? It would be great. Arnold would be remembered as the guy who did it first, and the Olympia has to keep pace with that, so they would have to up it to $1 million. And now you'd have two shows giving away $1 million to the winners. I mean, who wouldn't want to compete now? I mean, then now we're talking about some serious cash here,
And you'd really, then you'd really have to buckle down and as a bodybuilder, Dave, remember you had no Thanksgiving, New Year,
Yeah, right.
Valentine's Day. This would be include no birthdays.
It doesn't matter. It's a lot of money, and you know what? And then you're going to get shows like in Dubai. They're going to be like, wait a minute, wait. They're giving $1 million in the United States. We got to give $1 million too. They're giving $1 million.
$1 million plus a Ferrari.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then you get a show in Qatar. They'll give away $2 million because they want to outdo the million guys.
The Minister of Tourism no longer likes his fifth. So rather than junket.
Yeah, Sampson will be driving around in a golden Ferrari made of gold, So he thinks his supercar he bought is good. Wait till he gets the one from the sheikh who gives it as a. Remember Bill Phelps had that Lamborghini and he did that Body for Life contest where the transformation contest, and he said, I'm going to give away my Lamborghini to the winner, whoever has the best transformation. And then at the end of the day, he wound up giving away like six Corvettes instead of his Lamborghini. Like he bought 6 used Corvettes and gave them away to 6 different people.
What happened to Bill Phillips? I know he had he almost died from COVID, right?
Yeah, but he cashed out a long time ago. I'm assuming he still has his money because it was a lot of money.
Yeah,
he made 300 something million when he sold EAS to Abbott Labs.
Maybe you can buy that beach house in Fort Lauderdale. That's
wow. Oh, the one that our friend Jack left.
Yeah, I think it's in foreclosure. It's in foreclosure.
Oh, it is. Well, you're the real estate guy, Yeah, wow. Yeah. So what can you pick it up for? Like 25 million? No.
I told you the note. There's 36 million on the note. I think.
Wow. Blackman should move in there.
Mortgage payment. Google that. $36 million over 30-year loan, even though he won't be alive in 30 years. At
30.
Got it. I think he did buy it when rates were 4 or something. You can put it into what's it called? Mortgage calculator. You Google mortgage calculator. 30. I think it.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, let me pull the Bang Energy founder Jack Owoc hit with $30 million foreclosure suit. Lender alleges the former energy drink mogul and his wife defaulted on the mortgage. So I don't know if that's true or not. It sounds like
mortgage?
it is.
$30 million over 30 years at 5%. You put it into mortgage calculator. You want me to?
That math is too high for me.
It's like
this one says he listed the mansion for $45 million.
It's probably $200,000 a month mortgage.
In September 29th of this year, he listed the mortgage, the mansion for $40 million. It spans over 12,667 square feet and is situated on 100 feet of beachfront. Oh, let me pull this up here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, this is pretty insane. Chris, I think you should. I think you and Blackman should go in together and purchase this property.
We're still looking for the Playboy Mansion, even though it's not beachfront. It's got the grotto.
The grotto.
But it's everyone thought. Well, I mean, my understanding is that it was like it was a one. I mean,
look at that! Holy mac! Look at that pool, Chris. Holy crap!
Dave, I
want that pool.
Look, I think there's Well, the consensus in Fort Lauderdale was that it was overpriced.
The North Atlantic Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale. 7 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms.
He overpaid, according to people, because it doesn't have like the privacy of. Like,
he relisted the mansion for $47 million.
Yeah. There's no privacy.
Beautiful. It's right on the beach too. Oh, is that the problem?
Well, the problem is like people who pay that type of money, they want to be in a gated community. They don't want Dave Palumbo and Chris
yeah,
down the beach and walk up the public beach, right? And say, "Oh, there's Jack's house. Let's go visit him."
Yeah, I mean, you're basically paying for the location because I mean the house is beautiful. Let's get, but it's not like it's no nicer than a $5 million house. It's just on the beach in the water there. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. You can kind of access the house very easily. Yeah, it's amazing those houses are worth so much money.
The other houses,
there. Yeah. Well, I wish him the best of luck. He's a good guy. So, I wanted to give a big shout out to Oksana Grishina, our fitness Olympia champ, former fitness Olympia champ. She had a baby, Chris, at like 40 years old. So congratulations.
Who had the baby?
Oksana Grishina.
Oh, congratulations.
She did.
Congratulations.
Oksana Grishina, her and her husband Boris. I don't know if you knew this, but when Oksana and Boris first came to the United States, they were staying at Lena's house. Lena and Eugene.
Oh, yeah,
may he rest in peace. Eugene Mission. They were staying. I think they were renting an apartment from Lena, and I think I used to see her at Bev's gym. They used to train there, and no one even knew who she was at this point. And she started competing, and she was doing the amazing routines, and they were not giving her the wins. And it was one of those deals. Like, yeah, she got a great routine, but we're not going to let her win. That kind of thing. And then, of course, eventually she started winning. She moved out to, I think, California first, then Vegas, and just one of the nicest person I ever met. Such a loving person, and the husband's a great guy, Boris. And I know she always wanted to have a baby, and I think that she competed not this past year, but the year before that, and won because she did. I don't know if she didn't get pregnant, and then all of a sudden she got pregnant after that, and now she has the baby. But it's amazing. Sometimes it's when it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and I'm so happy for her. So I want to just send that huge congrats. Beautiful
Dave,
little baby.
You were her #1 fan for routines. Dave would like.
I was. I would be so angry when she wouldn't win the show. I'd go nuts.
Dave would do. It would be, and
her routines were like.
Not only that, but she changed her physique, right? She really improved her physique because she always had a good physique, but she worked to improve it.
Yeah, no, she did. She's a consummate professional. The funny thing was that in the later years when she was winning Olympias easily, her routine wasn't even as good as it was early on in her career
Well,
because
that's
I
what.
think she got a little older and she couldn't do.
Well, and her physique changed. I mean, she improved it like
Right,
a lot.
right. But what I'm saying is the routine, the level of the routines that she was doing was off the charts when she first came onto the
Yeah.
scene. And they were still really good when she was winning Olympias, but they weren't what they used to be. And
Yeah.
if you remember seeing her first couple routines, they were like it was like watching a Broadway performance.
Well,
They were so good.
went downhill too as she got older.
Yeah, no, it happens to all of us. We all fall apart as we get older. All right, I wanted to the last quarter of the show. I wanted to talk about. We were going to talk about the 2003 Night of Champions, which is now known as the New York Pro. It used to be called the Night of Champions. That was a show that we would go to every single year. There wasn't a lot of shows back then. There was like the Olympia, the Arnold, the Night of Champions, and maybe one or two other shows. And Night of Champions was always a big deal because everyone would go into New York City. They would hold it at something called the Beacon Theater. And it was like a who's who. Everyone was at that show. It was like going to the Academy Awards because it was in the Beacon was a very nice theater. It looked like something they would hold like the Academy Awards in, and we would all see each other there and take pictures. And remember, there was no cell phones and stuff like that back then. So in 2003, Victor Martinez won that show. Chris obviously was his coach, and it was probably one of the most dominating wins we'd seen in a long time. I think Victor really finally showed that he was able to get in the kind of shape that he needed to be a serious threat. And I didn't know this, but Chris just told me before, this is when you were dealing with your cancer, right? During this time
Yeah.
period?
In the latter, I don't know. It was 03, so it was late because I got sick in 01.
Give us
Uh,
the history of that show, of how it progressed and how you hooked up with Victor and all that stuff.
I saw Victor at the Arnold the year before, and I ran into him. He said, "I want you to like help me for a show." And I really helped him a lot for that show. I mean, it was like not like this like 10-week thing. It was like this long prep. And um, I remember I went out to Seattle to go see Joe Weider. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And Victor was like exactly 2 weeks out, and he got sick as a dog. And I was like, it don't matter. There's no way. I mean, unless you get sick from here to the show, but it's not going to matter. You're going to look crazy for the show, and um, I mean, people like had an expectation that he was going to look good, but it was just like a breakthrough show for him because it was like a lot of people in the lineup, and he was able to, you know, that crowd, that New York crowd there was no other crowd like that in those days.
Dexter was in that show too.
Was
He was
Dexter?
third, right? Yeah.
I think no, you get the wrong year. I think you're
Oh,
you're in
I'm.
02.
Hold on. Let me go back to.
Tamale got and
Oh,
Titus.
King Kamali. Oh, that was the one with King Kamali and Titus, right? We're in that show.
Yeah, they thought they were. Yeah. Anyway,
They were fighting with each other, right?
yeah, Victor came out ahead in that show, and it was like a big breakthrough show for him. And it was like, wow.
Pavel Jablon. I think Titus beat Kamali, right? Because Titus was third and Kamali was fourth. Johnny Jackson was fifth, and Pavel Jablonski was second.
Yes, Pavel was second. He was like, super thin skin because he always had that thin skin, and he had
Yeah.
20 years of training behind him over like Titus. They look like, you know, they look great, but he just looked, crazy condition because, and he had the density of training for like I think Peter McGough told me he's been training 30 years for that show.
30 years. He competed well into his 50s, Chris, and he was looking really good, if I remember correctly.
And just yeah, that was a great breakthrough show for Victor, and there it is.
There it is, yeah.
That trophy there. I actually still have my green shirt that I wore to the Night Show. Can you believe it?
No, you still have every piece of clothing you've ever had since high
I have
school. So
a backstage picture of me and him, and I want to wear it. I'll wear it on Dave. I'll find the backstage picture, and I'll wear it on next week's show if I think about it.
you still have the muscle tech jacket that Jay gave you
Well,
25 years ago.
2004. They say like supplements at work or something on them, and
Yeah, yeah. You're too much. But now, I mean, how were you having a tough time? Because I mean, you were obviously going for interferon treatments during that period of
yeah,
time, and you were very sick. I mean,
I was very sick, and Victor put me in a little apartment. I came in early, put me in a little apartment in Hell's Kitchen. And Dave, I was in real estate, and he had an apartment there. I always say, "What happened to the Hell's Kitchen?" He had like a apartment there. It was like a rent control for $500.
oh my God, holy shit! Were there
And
rats and
no, it was
in there?
great.
No.
It was great.
Oh, oh,
And he put me there, and then he switched me towards the end to a hotel, and he checked into the hotel like the last couple of days.
right.
And what I didn't tell him is I was like, I didn't want to go down there. I took the bus down. I was sick. And every
Crazy.
time any smell, I was on the verge of throwing up. And
Oh my God.
the bus, and like the bus fumes would like, come back into the bus and smell like the diesel.
Right. Oh
And
my God.
I was supposed to, I think, go to the prejudge and to go to the show or something. I think it was the prejudge, and then
Yeah.
I came out of my hotel, and I was so sick. I sat on the New York City curb.
Oh my God. Disgusting, right? Disgustingly dirty.
The smells, and the curb was so low. New York City has those low curbs
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
My knees like up to my foreheads, and I felt like I was gonna die. And every smell was getting to me. It smelled like urine, right? And I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
I looked up, and there was like an Afghan restaurant. I said maybe I should go in there for help or something, because I think I need
Oh,
help.
you felt that bad, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like nausea. Nothing's worse than nausea. Right?
No, yeah. Well, you described to me when you would go for the interferon treatment like you had the flu every single day. Is that how you felt?
Oh, it felt for more than a year I had the flu. Felt like.
Oh, wow.
And
That had to be brutal.
I was trying to figure out like either how to get back to my hotel or how to get the pre-judge. I can't even remember because I was like discombobulated.
Right.
And I felt myself like, gosh, I'm having a hard time like staying stable right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the story now, but at the time when you're nauseous, it's just like, oh my God, what do I do? And out of the blue, nowhere, comes up walking with the camera around his neck, who I didn't know well. I met him once, J.M. Mannion. And it was
For the rescue. He's a superhero. He likes to be a superhero.
refreshing to see it, like a face that you recognize. And it's like,
right.
oh, it's J.M. Mannion. And he goes, you okay? And I'm like, because he asked you, okay, this is me. Oh, yeah, I'm fine. He said, you don't look okay. And I said, no, I'll be fine. But I was so happy to see like a familiar face. And it gave me like, I don't know, the familiarity or reassurance, like wherever I was going, like contest, or hotel. But I'll never forget that because it was like the weirdest, like,
That was your angel. Someone sent an angel to you to help you.
But it was just like a gross feeling. And, it'd be like if I was out in New York and feeling horrible, no one was around, and you showed up, I'd be like, oh my God, Dave, I feel better already.
Right.
And
he directed you.
Yeah, I think he directed me to the prejudge, and I asked, how do you get there? And then I found it, and then I went into the show, and I went, yeah, that's it. It was like late, and I was like, oh my God, I'm late. That's why I was, because I was sitting on the curb for so long. And,
oh shit.
And like the lineup has already started, and I thought like the show was over, and then the first call like was Victor in the middle, and then like that was it.
You did your job. The funny thing is, John Romano and I went to an after party once at the Arnold Classic, and if you remember, unlike this past year, which was very warm, it used to be frigidly cold in Columbus during the March those March shows. So we went to this after party with no jackets on because someone had drove us there. And we got out of the after party. They closed the club. It was 2:30 in the morning. We walk outside because we're the last ones there because we're taking pictures for muscular development. And we're sweating. And it's so cold outside, Chris. It has to be like 18 degrees or something like that. And we're like 2 miles from the hotels. There's not one single person and there's not one single cab anywhere. I said, John? He said, yeah. I said, we're dead. We're going to die. We're going to die tonight. We're never going to get back. I said, I don't even know where we are. I know we're not around the corner from the fucking venue, and there's no cabs. And we're trying to call people, and they're like, no one's answering at the cab companies. I'm like, we're dead. Who comes around the corner in his car? Zip. Hey guys, you need a ride? J.M. Mannion.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I swear to you. I swear to you. He was our angel. He saved our lives. We were done. We were soaking wet, and in 18 degrees weather. I never would have gotten home. He said, get in, and he drove us back to the hotel.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. So there you go.
Yeah.
Two times.
2 times. Well, he always fancies himself a superhero. So, he did some superhero jobs. So there we go. 2 of them. One for you, one for me. Well, it'll be interesting. We have once again, the Nash is coming up in a few weeks. Or is it next week or is it the week after that? I don't even remember.
Next week. It's next week.
It is next week. Yeah. And there's a bunch of shows also. There's the Muscle Contest Nacional, which I assume is their nationals in Campinas, Brazil. There's the Battle of the Bay. I see. So there's a bunch of big shows coming up next weekend, December 7th. And actually, that's from this weekend. Oh, how come we don't have results for these things? Hold on a second. They should have these results up. I don't see them. All right. Well, we can't give the results of these shows, but the Nationals will be the finale of the year. I was going to go, Chris, because I did have a couple people I'm helping, but you know what? I said, I can't go to another show. It's too much. Holidays coming up. I'm dealing with, with my little divorce I'm going through. So it's not the ideal time to be traveling. So I'm going to skip Nationals this year, but I did get to go out to the Masters USA, which was amazing. I told you last weekend with John, my friend John Frashoni, and we had a great time out there. Tamer did a great job. So I did travel a lot more this year than I did last year, and hopefully this coming year we'll get some good stuff going. I can't believe I got to book the Arnold Hotel already. I'm like saying to myself, "Holy shit, I'm falling behind. It's coming up in 2 months. It's nuts."
No, it's 3 months, Dave. Don't put me into a panic. It's 12 weeks.
December, January.
3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 months. 3 months. You're right. We do get a little break in the action. Are you going to be going down to Florida at all?
I'm going on the 18th to the 31st. Yeah.
Oh, good. You'll be in Miami?
I'm going to go to Miami. Yeah.
Maybe I'll come visit you.
I can't wait. Yeah.
You staying? Which condo are you staying in? The new one?
No, I'm staying in the old one, the first one we ever bought down there.
Gotcha.
It's next to the Four Seasons, Dave.
Get Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. Listen, brothers, Cursicito is going to be in South Beach.
Dave does a good impersonation of Blackman talking to Hulk Hogan.
When he's down there, we're gonna combine forces, muscular development, RX muscle. We're gonna turn it into the new Muscle Mania. Don't miss it in December. Chris Aceto, Dave Palumbo, Steve Blackman reunited in South Beach. Don't miss it. Remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio.
The truth hurts, Dave.
It sure does. We'll see you guys next week. Oh my God.